Hey, what's going on, guys? Me and El Meatball over here. He is very uncomfortable right now. I'll. Do you just want to say hi? Say hello to everybody? I'll let you go. He is a very uncomfortable camper. Anyway, guys, what's going on? My name is Brandon. Welcome to Audio Addiction, where you can find latest album reviews. You can find our band interviews, and you can find other music-related content on the channel. I've been doing a lot more reaction videos, so if you're into that, definitely check those out. But I have a ton of cool stuff coming. Since this is coming out before my announcement, I figure I'd let you guys know on here. I'm going to be doing a live stream on Thursday to celebrate 5 years of audio addiction. So I want to thank all of you for either if you're a new subscriber or you've been here for more than 5 years. I mean, well, not more than 5 years, 5 years. It's always greatly appreciated. Again, I can't say how much support and love that I've gotten from this community over 5 years. And I definitely appreciate and love all of you guys for doing that. But anyway, the reason probably why you're here, I'm going to be doing a review. This is the first review of the year, so shout outs to Ascent Like Wolves. There will be an interview going out probably next week with them, so come check that out. They go a little bit more in depth with the record, and obviously they're able to speak on it better than I can. It was a great interview with Al and Cody of the band, so go check that out. But anyway, like I said, check out my review of Ascend Like Wolves, Mystic Auras. So for those of you who aren't familiar with this band, they are I think 5 or 6 piece. I think they're a 6-piece metalcore band from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and I've been friends with them probably about a couple years, 2 or 3 years, and I've always thought that they had like something interesting going on. I've seen them play probably like 4 or 5 times now at this point, and they're just solid dudes, and they make some like incredible music. So I was very stoked to get this early, and shouts to We Are Triumphant as well for sending it over early. It's always really cool to see that, and like being able to get to listen to it a little bit earlier than I would feel like most people would be listening to it. So shout outs to Corey of Zombie Shark. He is the one who does who did the album art for this record, which is definitely super cool. Love this dude to death. Such a talented man. He does music, he does album art. Is there anything you can't do? I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to get through each track, give you my thoughts and opinions on them, go through some pros and cons, and then finish it out with an overall rating. So the first track is called Pink Dawn. I really like the cool intro. It really just kind of sets up Eastern Lights, which is the next track. And I always appreciate when bands kind of do like an intro track. I feel like it's a little bit more thought out. It's a little bit more methodical. Sometimes they can take away from the songs, but I don't feel like in this instance that they do. It just feels like just a really nice blend into the intro of Eastern Lights, and it's just a cool little nice guitar riff just thing going on there, and I really enjoyed it so far. So we're gonna move into track number 2, Eastern Lights. This is one of the singles that they had released, and it's, as I mentioned earlier, it's just a continuation of Pink Dawn, which is definitely cool. And I just love how each track kind of flows into each other. It doesn't feel like one track is specifically like more intense than the other. It's just really the way that this album kind of flows, and kind of how this shows precedence at the beginning of the record is definitely really cool. And I think the thing that stands out to me the most in terms of like just the instrumentation is something that encapsulated me and is something that sticks out more specifically. I love Cody's drumming in this track. I actually enjoy his drumming throughout this entire record, and as I had mentioned, I had a long time of just like listening and really kind of dissecting things, and just the way they kind of accent certain things that you weren't really expecting. And I know he talks about it in the interview as well. And just like it's just really well put together in terms of just the instrumentation, and just feels like, again, they've been doing it over a couple years time, and they've been able to kind of like tweak and like mix certain things up. And I really feel like what they came out with in this track specifically really works. I also love the screams. I definitely feel like they are taking up a notch. I know Al does some screaming, and also I know Nick handles most of the screaming on the, if not the entirety of the screaming on this record. And I just love the dynamics between Al and Nick just generally. I think Al's vocals are just so like encapsulating and just really like, powerful, and he definitely has a higher register. And I also feel like Nick has this really nice grit, and he kind of hits that middle to kind of low tonality, and they really kind of cover all the bases between all of those different things, whether it be singing or screaming. It just really works. And I appreciate the way that they switch off. Again, it might partially be because they're brothers and they just have that kind of camaraderie with each other. And they've been making music together for such a long time that it just feels to me it just feels so natural as just being just like listening to their music. It just feels right. I love the guitar work from Blake and Kyle. I think they just do a really superb job. I would say something that really stuck out to me, much like Cody's drumming, is the lead guitar work. That just adds a really nice dimension to the track, and I feel like again that's a commonality and another thing that really extends itself throughout the record. Lastly, I would say my favorite thing is just that it's super catchy. It's definitely one of the more memorable tracks to me, off of Mystic Auras, and it was one that I was like, every time I went to recycle this record, this was one that stuck out to me. So we're gonna move into track number 3, which is Telephone. I really love the bass and the drum work. I like how they take more precedent in this song, more specifically in the verses. I just feel like it offers a diverse layer to the track, and also I feel like it takes away from like what we all expect, which is like guitar work, bass work, drum work. It just feels like they're really expanding their musical palette, and I appreciate that. I also like how Nick kind of takes the verse of this track, and then Al takes the second half, or the second verse of the track. It just really shows off their range as vocalists, and sometimes I felt like at certain points where I kind of grade the lines between, is this Nick or is this Al? And sometimes I'm not. I'll be 100% honest. There were some times where I wasn't even sure if whether or not it was Al or it was Nick. So I really like that. They showed off their skills as vocalists as well, and just having this song be more just clean vocals, I think that definitely, highlights their ability as vocalists to hear just mostly clean vocals from both Nick and Al. I think that's super tight. And there's this nice little breakdown around the 1 minute and 57 second mark to around the 2 minutes and 27 second mark, with some really good screaming from Nick, I believe. And I think this one, in contrast to Eastern Lights, just shows off more of their clean skills, and it just comes out with a cool music video that actually came out today that I recorded on the 15th. So go check it out. It's on Dreambound. Definitely would recommend it. But we're going to move into track number 4, which is Bloom. This one features JT of Era, which is definitely cool. Love seeing JT. Super stoked for their new record. But anyway, if you've been a fan of Ascent Like Wolves for a while, I definitely feel like this song would have the most familiarity to you. Not necessarily saying like the song is like a carbon copy of another, but it just has that real like Ascent Like Wolves flavor to it, which I definitely appreciate. I know that as I mentioned, or I keep mentioning, that I interviewed Al with Cody recently, and Al said that this one feels the most Ascent Like Wolves, and I would have to agree with that. It just has that sort of flavoring that, again, most fans and most people that like this band will definitely, be able to pick up on and listen to. This one feels much different than Telephone and Eastern Lights. I like that this one has more of a groove to it. Not to say that the others don't, but this one has, I feel like, a more definitive groove, and is a little bit more like open-ended per se. It's definitely a little bit more ethereal in its construction, which is definitely cool. I also love the melodic flares that have, going on there, whether it be just like the lead clean guitar parts or just some like lead parts in general. I think it really just adds different dimension to the track. As I mentioned, I feel like with each track, the vocals get more impressive, and Al and Nick really get to show off their range as well in this track in just a different way than I feel like the other two have so far. But I would say my favorite thing that sticks out to me is definitely the guitar work. I would say, again, the melodic cleans and the leads really carry this song in a very like atmospheric sort of way, and I think that has a lot to do with Blake and Kyle's writing style. I think they really did a fantastic job arranging the song, along with obviously the guys at Atrium Audio. They've been doing it for such a long time, and I feel like their critiques on a lot of these songs really help kind of drive these home, and at least for me, it keeps them memorable, which I appreciate. Jake T comes in at around the 3 minute mark and leaves at around the 3 minutes and 31 second mark, which is a pretty long feature. There's a few tracks that I feel like, again, the features are either at the same length or maybe even a little bit longer, which is definitely nice. The breakdown definitely feels era-esque, which is very fitting because they had JT on it. Obviously, I'm not sure if that was intentional or not, but it definitely fits his styling and vocal quality. So I think JT did a really solid job on this feature, and hopefully they'll wind up doing more features with him in the future, because that'd be really cool. But anyway, we're moving on to track number 5, which is Poison. This one is another single that was released kind of recently. I love the ambience of the guitars and the clean intro of this song. I think it just really pairs well with the singing. The layers in the track just really, I think for me, hit a home run and just start this track off on the right foot. And I love that this, to me personally, feels the most Ascent Like Wolves. I know that Al said Bloom does, but this one I just feel like really kind of sells it home for me. If you have been an avid listener of Ascent Like Wolves, I feel like this one definitely hits more of that classic Ascent Like Wolves feel to it. It just has that perfect mix of singing and screaming. There's just some really good technicality moments to it, but there's also some like really beautiful melodic moments as well. And I think that the way that the track kind of sings just is really well done. And I think it has a lot to do with their arrangement. The chorus just has this sing-along sort of feel to it, but also just has this sort of heaviness to it that makes you kind of want to move around at a show. But I just feel like there's just a lot of heart in this track, and every time I get to this track, which is kind of like the midpoint of the record, I feel like they really kind of hit it home, at least for me. And then instrumentally, I think there's just a really good amount of dynamics to it, whether it be like the drumming, the bass playing, the guitar playing. It just really feels versatile, and it also just has this kind of heavy vibe to it overall, and I think that kind of threads through just the really technical moments, but also just like some really nice heavy moments as well. So we're gonna move into track number 6, which is Midnight Eyes. This is a nice little interlude sort of track. There's this really cool ethereal guitar parts, along with like a guitar solo, and again, who doesn't like a good guitar solo? That's always very cool. This one I really enjoy. Again, there isn't probably too much to talk about otherwise, but it's a very phenomenal interlude track. So we're gonna move into track number 7, which is Deja Vu. This one features Matteo Gelsomino. I'm probably butchering your name, sorry Matteo, of Ex Novelist, which is definitely cool. I love hearing his voice, and obviously I'm a huge Novelist fan, so this one had a little bit of, I resonated with this one a little bit more. But anyway, much of the same reason why I love Poison kind of continues to the reason why I love this track a lot. It just, to me, I love the groove in this track. It's just really next level, at least, and I think that Blake and Kyle really came up with a fantastic track guitar wise, and I think Cody kind of like took it home for sure. And it just really has this really just bump and groove to it, and it definitely has that kind of, I don't want to say gent, but I'm going to. It has that kind of genty-esque quality to it, which I love. The subtle technical moments in this track at least make it memorable to me, whether it be like the ghost notes that Cody does. I don't know why I said Corey. Cody does. And just the way that like the guitar work really kind of balances with the drumming. I think it's super solid. Matteo comes in at around the 1 minute and 43 second mark and ends at the 2 minutes and 28 second mark, which again, he has a pretty large feature. He does mostly screaming, but he also does a little bit of clean singing towards the end. And much like To My Dismay, I feel like there was a little bit of lacking in terms of the screaming on the previous Novelist record. So it was very cool to hear him just really wail it on this track. I know it was kind of an older feature from what we talked about in the interview. But man, I think he just absolutely rips it in this track. And you already know how good his cleans are. I love his cleans too. It just really works, and I like that. I don't know if it was Al or Nick that did some screaming harmonies with Matteo, but that just hit me in that right spot, and I love it. I also just feel like this song just really hits all the buttons for me, at least as I mentioned, my love of Poison. But this one, I think, just takes it a little bit up even more so a notch. And I think that might have a little bit of bias due to me loving Matteo so much, but I'm going to just chalk it up to just it being a well-written track. And I think that the feature just really adds a lot of extra just goodness to it that the track already had already. Do I think that they could have done the track without Matteo? I mean, I wouldn't want to, just because I don't want to live in that world. But I think that if Matteo wasn't on the track and they just kind of did it normally like this, it would be completely fine. So definitely like this one a lot. Probably my favorite track off the record, without a doubt. So we're going to move into track number 8, which is Deaf Effect. And this one features Brian of Currents. Again, another great feature. I think that the one thing that stands out to me on this record more specifically is just the kind of range of different screamers and like vocalists and stuff like that. I think that they really kind of, spread the gambit a little bit. There's some stuff that, like again, Matteo kind of rides that line between doing clean vocals and screams. Brian could have done that, but he didn't do it. He was mostly screams. JT's kind of the same way too, and then Boca coming up we'll talk about. But getting back to Death Effect, I love that Nick really takes the reign on this track, and I know that Al talked about it in our interview that he did primarily the writing on this track, and it's definitely solid. Like, I love like the really fast-paced guitar work along with the drumming. I think they just really just nailed home that like progressive, just fast beats. It was really tight, and again, it's one that's out already now, but just the way that they're able to kind of like create that really just like hype energy to it and then just sell it home with some really great writing is awesome. And I love the screaming in this track. It just really cuts through the song super well. It has some really great clarity. However, I would probably say the thing that really surprised me the most is the singing, more specifically in the chorus. It just has this really gritty tonality, which I like, and kind of in comparison to Al's, as I mentioned earlier in the review. It just really cuts through the track super well. So definitely enjoyed this one a lot for that reason. Also, Brian comes in at around the 1 minute and 35-second mark to around the 1 minute and 58-second mark. I think Brian's screaming is good. I mean, again, if you're a Currents fan, you're going to be feeling that, and it's just going to resonate with you as an individual. But I also feel like he fits really well into the track as well. I feel like all of the features thus far have just felt like they fit with the tracks that they were given, whether it was intentional or not. It just really works with the structure of the song, and I think that's really awesome. I also love the drumming done by Cody over Brian's feature. Completely understated, because I feel like a lot of people are definitely going to be focusing more on Brian, which is definitely a cool thing. And anytime there's a feature on a track, there's just a way to kind of be like, oh my god, there's a feature on a track, that's so cool. But like Cody's drumming, just I feel like is definitely going to be understated. So if you listen to this track multiple times, I would highly recommend listening to that drumming, because my god, that is going to fly under a lot of people's radar for sure. I love the fills. I think he just does a great job of just absolutely nailing the drumming in that. There's this nice breakdown around the 2 minute mark to the 2 minutes and 15-second mark. And then there's another one at the 2 minutes and 38-second mark to around the 2 minutes and 55-second mark. They just both bump, which is totally cool. And again, anytime you can have a really nice breakdown into a track, is you got me sold. So definitely a solid track. Definitely one of the better songs off the record for sure. So we're gonna move into track number 9, which is called Dissolve, and this one features Buka of Make Them Suffer. Again, with the vocal features, I think they're just really super solid, and this is no exception. This one definitely took me by surprise upon first listen. It is absolutely the black sheep of the record. I feel like a lot of people aren't going to expect this type of song from a scent like Wolves, and I didn't really feel like I was gonna be able to be like, yeah, I like this song, but like it's really solid. It has more of a ballady sort of feel to it. Buka comes in at around the 1 minute mark, and then she kind of fizzles out at around the 1 minute and 21 second mark, and then she comes in a later chorus after kind of a drop, which is really cool. Her singing really does a great justice in this song. I think it really complements what Al's doing vocally, as well as Nick. And it's cool to hear something that's, it's cool to hear her in something that isn't Make Them Suffer. I feel like she gets underutilized in a lot of their stuff. And again, I know it's not like a metalcore band or anything, but like I would love to hear her expand upon more of like her singing and stuff like that, because it was really solid in a track like this. And again, it was cool that they were able to utilize her in that way. As I mentioned, it's a cool counterpoint with Al's vocals. And I'm just a huge advocate for like female male dynamic vocals, because it just works. I don't know what about it. It's just something about in my head that just like triggers something where I'm like, yeah, this is solid. I like this. But like I love the female male like singing duos, dynamic, whatever you want to call it. And there's a little bit of that towards the end of the song. There's also a really nice guitar solo at around the 2 minute mark to the 2 minutes and 20 second mark, which is a nice little change of pace to be added into the song. So we're gonna move into the last track, track number 10. This one is called Aquamarine. I love the group vocal intro. Come on, that is a classic metalcore trope. And listen, if there's anything to die out, I wouldn't want group vocals to die out. I know it sometimes is a little cheesy, but listen, I have a soft spot for group vocals. But anyway, this one really kind of combines a lot of what I enjoy about this record, and I also feel like it combines a lot of aspects of the record in general. So, obviously I would like this track just because it is the best of kind of the record and compiled into one song specifically. I think it really nails the beauty and the melodies that I love about this band, and then as well as having just a really dynamic chorus to send it home. The way that Nick and Al kind of conduct themselves dynamically as a two-person vocalist, it just really works. I don't, like I said, I'm kind of a little bit taken back by like how good their duo vocals are, and like I went back and listened to Frigid Future, went back and listened to Spear Vessel, and to see them grow as both vocalists and as individuals, it's really cool to see them really come and hone into their own. And I think this track definitely is, again, every record I feel like they try to top things, and this one just to me really works. And the tracks are like memorable, the choruses are memorable. There's just something about it that just to me just hits something different in my brain, and I really like that. Again, Nick has this really kind of gritty tonality to him, and he has a lot of power behind his vocals. And then Al is definitely more of I feel the voids of the music. Like he has definitely a lot more beautiful cleans, and he has like a higher register. So it just really, I feel like the way that they kind of dynamically balance each other is just really awesome. Cody, Blake, and Kyle, I think, just brought a lot of stuff to this song and to the record in general, obviously, but I really feel like they sell it home in this, and it's just this way that they're able to kind of counterbalance balancy, like riffy guitar parts with like the drumming of Cody, and that they don't like really like interject. I mean, they do interject, but they don't like overpower each other, and it doesn't feel like they're just always fighting for power. Everything really just sets in its place, and I really appreciate that. And I just feel like it rounds off Mystic Auras in the best way. It's one that I was excited to always come back to, and again, it has everything that I want in this band, and it just works. So some pros and cons that I have about the record, we'll go through vocally. I love Al and Nick, as if you hadn't already known that already, and I just think their vocals just, where they're placed in a specific track just really works. And I think that they just being brothers and having that sort of dynamic just really works, and they don't kind of crowd each other, and they really work on their parts. And I think that you're able to hear that and really able to like dissect things. And not to say that the other material prior to this was bad, it just feels like they have taken this to the next level, and I just love that. I think vocally, both specifically and together, I think they're very dynamically diverse, both in the cleans and the screams department. And I think that what one person doesn't do well, the other brother fills in, and vice versa. So really love that. But it was, vocally solid on all fronts. Drumming, I think it was really well done by Cody. Probably some of my, most favorite drumming on a record. Even last year too, I'd even include that. Like, it's just so dynamic. The way that he kind of includes certain fills and stuff is just really well done. And I don't feel like at certain points, I don't feel like I was just kind of like listening to it to just listen to it. It was just, there's something about it that just worked. And I think that there's really not a dull moment, and he just really makes some awesome just drumming riffs and rhythms, and I just love that. And I'm excited to see him experiment more and really kind of hone his craft, because he definitely has qualities of a Chris Turner or a Josh Manuel or something like that. He just really has a diverse palette of drumming, and you can definitely hear that throughout this record. So guitar wise, I really love Blake and Kyle. I think they just offer a really nice dynamic with each other. I know Blake is a really good new addition to the band. I think he joined the band maybe like a year or two ago, and he just brings a nice different flavor to the band that I wasn't really expecting. And I think, like, again, after him joining after Spirit Vessel, I believe, the way that he's been incorporated into his band is really well done. And I think it just kind of further highlights what Kyle does, which is always very good. I would say more specifically in tracks like Deja Vu, Death Effect, Aquamarine, and probably many more. It's just really well done. Their bass work is really cool. There's definitely some tracks where I felt like there was some cool space within the song, and I think they filled it out pretty well. So definitely enjoy that. If you are a bass player, there's certain songs on this record that you're probably going to enjoy a lot. So some cons, I don't really feel like I had too many cons about this record. The only thing that I will say is that I don't feel like I appreciate the ballad song as much as I thought I would. I appreciate that they're taking risks, but I just felt like they could have done a little bit more. It didn't really hit me as much as the rest of the record has. And, that's not to discredit the song in any way. It just feels like it just didn't really jive with me personally. And so I feel like maybe it was just kind of a loose end in that regard. But my overall rating for Ascend Like Wolves, Mystic Auras, I'm going to be giving it 9.7 toe beans out of 10. That's a joke, because obviously my cat. But anyway, very cool. One of my favorite records of this year so far. I've been having a hard time not listening to it. I'm currently working on an Architect's review, and I am trying with all of my strength to not go back and listen to this record. So I know it's super early, February, but like this one is super up there in my favorites. I want to say it's probably close to my top 10s, which, by the way, reminds me that I didn't do albums of the year, EPs of the year, all that sort of stuff. So maybe I'll do it Thursday and we can talk about that. But yeah, super solid record. Probably, again, one of my favorites of this year. And I just can imagine it being in my top 10 for the end of this year as well. So let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are on this review. It is coming out this Friday, so go check it out. Please go pre-order it if you can. I know that they sold out of vinyl, so if you are a vinyl hound like I am so sorry. I think they only made like 100, so hopefully they're able to make another round of it. Who knows? So hopefully, if you want to pester them about that, you could do that. But if not, go pick up a CD, go pick up merch. I'm sure they would definitely appreciate it in this time for sure. But thanks again to Adam Splitter. Thanks again to We Are Triumphant. Thanks again to Ascend Like Wolves for letting me do this review. The interview will probably be out the following week, so go check that out as well. It really gives you a lot of insight that I didn't even really talk about on this review. So if you want to know more in depth on the record, please check that out. It's not clickbait, I swear to God. It's the real shit. So go check that out. And if you enjoyed this content, make sure to subscribe, hit that thumbs up, share it. It goes a long way. If not, Meatball is going to be very upset right now. He's currently cleaning himself on my bed. So if you don't do it, Meatball is going to be upset. And listen, I'm a dad now, so I can't have my son be upset. So please share it. It means a lot. Thanks to Ascend Like Wolves for letting me do this review. And we'll be talking with you guys soon. Peace.